Let's add eyes to our minion. Your eyes will look something like this. This is a minion I created that is not fired yet. You can see he's holding a baseball and a bat. This is a minion that I have created that is fired, and you can see the eye and the band that holds the goggles on. You can also see that this minion is not holding anything. To make the eye for your minion, you're going to need a toothpick for score and slip, a little bit of water, a paintbrush to put the water onto the clay, a marker top so you can put an indentation into the clay to create the goggle, a pencil, the back end of the pencil and the tip of the pencil to make the eye. Now we're going to want to start with a chunk of clay, and we're going to pinch off a piece that is about this size, and we're going to roll it in our hands. This will eventually become the eye and the goggle. Get it nice and round, like so. Now to flatten it out so that it looks more like a goggle, we're going to take our thumb and our forefinger and we're going to pinch the ball of clay. When we do that, it starts to flatten it out. To get the edges of the ball of clay nicely, we're going to roll it onto our tabletop. This may take some adjusting. Now let's see about the size here. I feel that's a little bit big, but I think it'll work. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to find a good position for this eye to go onto our minion's body. So I want to take it and keep it close to the top of my head, maybe right about there. Now to attach two pieces of clay together, what we need to do is we need to do a process called score and slip. And what that looks like is this. You're going to use your toothpick to scrape up or score the back side of your goggle. Then where you decided that eye is going to go, you will also scratch or score it up. So I have scored the eye and I've scored the minion's body. The next step is to add the slip. To do this, you're going to get your paintbrush wet and you're going to rub water right on the scored surfaces. You can see when you do this, it makes the clay kind of slippery and wet. That's a good thing. We're going to take these two pieces of clay, put them on top of each other. We're going to wiggle them until they lock into position. You should be able to feel this. There'll be a lot less give. There we go. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the seam between the goggle and the minion's body is a good seam. So I'm going to take my fingers, kind of press it together. I'm going to look around the entire goggle part. If I feel that there's a little bit of space and it's not attached well, I can take my paintbrush and I can add a little bit of water into the spaces that I'm not convinced are joined together well. Now we're going to make that look like a goggle and an eye in just a little bit. What we need to do first though is we need to add the strap that holds the goggle on. Take this, set it aside. To do that, we're going to take a chunk of clay again, just a small piece, and we're going to roll a coil. To do that, we start off with a circle of clay. We place our hands together like so, and we start to move our hands back and forth. As I move those hands back and forth, that circle of clay is now turning into what is called a coil. Now as that coil grows, you can see that it is longer than the palm of my hand. When this happens, you can place the coil onto your table and you can start to roll it. You should notice that the coil continues to grow. This can be tricky. One of the tricks I tell all my students is to be careful of how much pressure they are putting onto the coil. If your coil is getting lopsided, that means you pressed just a little bit too hard. We want to make this coil relatively thin because it is a strap, so we don't want it to be too thick. I'm going to see what this looks like. I think that looks to be about the right thickness for my Minion. So let me measure it out. Wrap it around my Minion's head and pinch off the length I think I'll need. Something like so. Now, when we join two pieces of clay together, we have to remember to score and slip. So I'm going to take this back off. And I'm going to draw a line as part of my scoring to where I think I want the goggle strap to go on. Remember, scoring is scratching the clay. I can take my coil and I can do something similar. Now this can be tricky to scratch, so I'm going to take the tip of my toothpick and I'm just going to put little indentations or little marks. That'll do the same thing. There you have it. Let's add the water or the slip. And start the process of wrapping that coil around. Now look, mine just broke. It's not a big deal. It's clay. I can put it back together and re-sculpt it. Pinch off just a little bit more there. Now, again, I'm going to look at the seal. I'm going to see if there's any spaces that look like it needs a little more water. I'm not 100% convinced this coil's on there good, so I'm going to use a little bit of water on the underside. And on the top side. I'm going to then reshape this. I'm going to take my thumb and pointer finger and I'm going to run it along the strap. Now it's a good thing I just did that, because as I was doing that the strap came undone, and that means it was not attached well. If that's the case, if I don't attach it well, when the clay dries out, the strap would fall off, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to continue to reshape this with my thumb and my forefinger. There's another spot right there where it didn't attach well, so I can attach it better now. Okay, that looks better. Now, let's take this Minion eye and make it look more like a goggle and an eye. I'm going to use a marker. I'm going to use the cap of the marker, and I'm going to place it directly onto my goggle part. That gives me the shape of the goggle. I'm going to use the end of my pencil Let's use this pencil. It's a better shape. Put it in the center right there. Pull it out. Now I'm going to use the tip and put the eye there. And there you have it, the strap and the goggle for the Minion eye.